Well, the National League playoff field is now set. It'll be the Mets and Brewers going head-to-head in Milwaukee. Winner will face the Phillies in the NLDS. Braves and Padres facing off in San Diego. And the winner of that series will get the Dodgers in the NLDS. We now welcome in CBS Sports MLB analyst Will Middlebrooks. And Will, the NL playoff picture set as we just saw. Let's start things off with a series that helped lead us into Monday's craziness. The Mets going back to Milwaukee to face against the Brewers. Milwaukee took 5 out of 6 against New York during the regular season. So do you expect more of the same in the playoffs?
I do, especially after today, right? Like, today took a lot out of the Mets. Just having to play today when knowing the Brew Crew, it has an off day, right? And there's more to that, right? It's the mental, it's the emotional grind of today. And they're going to be running straight on adrenaline. And then that's part of the postseason anyways, because everyone's gassed at this point. But then just having to play 18 innings today was huge. And then Edwin Diaz threw 66 pitches over the last 2 days. So he's going to be unavailable tomorrow. He threw 40 pitches just today. So I would be surprised if even he's available Wednesday, unless it will only be for 3 outs for sure. So the Brewers have been really good, and as you said, they beat them 5 out of 6 times. Their bullpen is one of the best bullpens in baseball. It's the best in the National League, and it's only behind the Cleveland Guardians. They had a 3.1 ERA this season, so they've been phenomenal. Their starting pitchers don't scare me if I'm going against them. Freddie Peralta's good. He'll go in game 1. Aaron Savali and then Frankie Montas will likely be game 2 and 3 if necessary. But it's all about the bullpen in the postseason. We're going to find that out real soon. They're going to score just enough runs, and if they have a lead and turn it over to that bullpen, they're going to win.
Well, as emotional as that turnaround is going to be for the Mets, who won the first game of Monday's doubleheader, the Braves, it took 2 games for them to punch their ticket into the postseason, and they're flying across the country to face the Padres, who are the hottest team in baseball in the second half of the season. Took 4 out of 7 from Atlanta during the regular season. And these two teams haven't faced off in the playoffs since 1998, when the Padres punched their ticket to the World Series in 6 games against Atlanta. And a lot of the players on this roster were not even around there yet. Will history repeat itself, though, or does Atlanta have it in them to pull off the upset? Well,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. They're so gassed. I mean, they got a 5-hour flight. They have time change. They have, like I said before, 18 stressful innings today because the Mets played the first game they won. They knew they were in, but the Atlanta was living on the edge right there, had to win that second game of the doubleheader. And, look, they're in the playoffs. Great. Like, they should be really happy with this. That's kind of a loser mentality, but you don't have Acuna Jr. You don't have Spencer Strider. You don't have Ozzie Albies for 2 months. Austin Riley's not there. And now, guess what? Your Cy Young favorite, the guy who has carried your rotation all year, back spasms. Over his last 3 starts, his fastball velocity actually kept going down pretty consistently. So there's a worry there that Chris Sale might not even pitch at all in the postseason, even if they happen to get past the Padres. But let's talk about the Padres a little bit because they're really good, and their rotation is likely going to be set. Dylan Cease, Joe Musgrove, who's actually been really good since coming off of the IL in August, and then Michael King likely in the 3rd spot for Game 3, who San Diego got from the Yankees in the Juan Soto trade. But this is about San Diego's bullpen. I'm going to continue to talk about bullpens in the postseason because the ball gets turned over early. Starters have short leases. Unless you're an elite ace, they're going to push you through 7 innings. San Diego's bullpen is the best built bullpen for the postseason. I mean, Jason Adam came over from Tampa Bay, Tanner Scott from Miami, both of those guys at the trade deadline. They have Robert Suarez to close the door, who's been phenomenal. So if they have a lead going past the 6th inning, good luck beating those guys.
Well, as long of a commute as it is for Atlanta to San Diego and back, you're predicting a pretty easy commute for the NLDS, an interstate matchup in the NLDS between San Diego and Los Angeles, which would be a rematch of the 2022 NLDS, where the Padres took 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers on the road to a World Series appearance. Now, the Padres, they went 8-5 against the Dodgers during the regular season. So does San Diego keep that momentum going, or are Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers just too much for the Padres to handle?
All right, I think you guys call this a tease, right? San Diego is, we'll say, one of my favorites to win a World Series. I'll just leave it at that. San Diego's no longer going to be a little bro to the Dodgers. All right, it's time for them to take that big step. The Dodgers rotation is in shambles. It has been all year. Guys have been in and out with injuries. Guys been rehabbing and coming back and forth. They did get Jack Flaherty, which was a bet the Detroit Tigers wish they still had him. They were expecting to go on the run they went on. But Jack Flaherty is their most reliable arm right now. Walker Buehler's been up and down since coming back from his Tommy John. Kershaw's been hurt. There's a lot of inconsistency with their pitching. Yes, their offense is very good, right? It's full of MVPs, but it's also really top heavy. And once you get about to the 5 spot, 5 through 9 in the lineup, you can get a lot of not easy outs, but it's not going to be tough outs in my opinion. So I think the Padres lineup starting pitching wise, I like those matchups better. Obviously the bullpen, which I just talked about, and the Padres offense is actually, it's scary, right? You have Tatis, you have Machado, you have these guys who can really do a lot of damage, and they feel like big game players. So I'm going to go with the Padres in that one, just because the Dodgers injuries have just really been an issue this year.
All right, so you've got San Diego advancing over the Dodgers in the NLDS, but your other NLDS matchup features the NL Central winning Brewers and the NL East winning Phillies. Now the Phillies took 4 out of 6 during the Brewers over the Brewers during the regular season. The only other time they faced off in the playoffs was back in 2008, and the Phillies took 3 out of 4 in their NLDS on the way to winning the World Series. So do you expect a similar fate for Philly in 2024, Will?
I mean, Philly's one of the best teams in baseball, so I'm going with the Phillies here. I mean, you just look at their rotation, right? Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, you got Sanchez, you got Suarez, you have 4 legitimate options for starting pitchers when a lot of teams are happy with just 3. Obviously, they have a very good in-loaded bullpen that can get a lot of high leverage outs. And then it's an offense of, like I said with the Padres, some big game players. You have Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, Turner, Real Muto. It goes on. And there's experience in big games, which really matters in the postseason. When I played my first postseason, my heart was beating out of my chest the first couple games, just because you know every pitch is the biggest pitch of your life. And if you've been there before and you've done it, the heart rate stays a little lower and you can focus on the task at hand. So in this case, really the matchups at almost every position, I like the Phillies to win this one.
All right, so then it was down to 2. The Will Middlebrooks NLCS prediction features the Phillies and the Padres facing off in a rematch of the 2022 NLCS, where Philly won in 5 games. So, Will, is history repeating itself here, or do the Padres get revenge?
I'm going to go Padres in 7. I think this is going to be the series of the 2024 postseason. I think this is going to be a great series. I think it's an upset because I do think the Phillies overall are a better baseball team as far as starting pitching for one. I do like the Padres bullpen. I think this offense is just going to go blows back and forth, and this is going to be a phenomenal series. But I have the San Diego Padres going to the World Series from the National League.
Baltimore sweeps this one out. Okay, so Baltimore advancing out of this, not the Royals, taking on the Yankees. This is going to be an interesting series. I know you've gone back and forth here, but how do you feel about this one, especially going up against, the AL favorite Yankees?
This is going to be a good series, right? AL East showdown. It's always fun. It's always a tough division. These guys battle all year 13 times. I just don't think Baltimore has enough starting pitching. They're down basically to Corbin Burns. And after that, you turn the ball over and you somehow got to beat the New York Yankees 3 times. And they beat Corbin Burns this year. So, I honestly think Aaron Judge, even with his history of not performing under the bright lights, I think he has a really good postseason just because that lineup looks completely different than it has in the past. Giancarlo Stanton's back. You have Juan Soto. You have Austin Wells, who's been hitting behind him and doing well in that part of the lineup. So I'm going to go with the Yankees in this one. I'm actually going to go with the Yankees in 4.
Wow. All right. So the Yankees making light work out of that one. Now let's turn our attention to the AL Central winning Guardians against the AL West winning Astros in the ALDS. The Astros, they took 4 out of 5 against the Guardians during the regular season. Houston swept Cleveland in their ALDS in their lone playoff meeting back in 2018. So are you going with the new look Guardians or the playoff ready Astros in this one?
So I do love the Guardians. I love Stephen Vogt, first-year manager. Good chance of winning manager of the year, what he's done over there. They have a very good bullpen. They just don't have the starting pitching. And I think their bullpen is worn down. They've been used and overused, and at some point, they're going to run out of gas. And I think it might be this postseason against an Astros lineup who has just tons of postseason experience. There's so many guys up and down that lineup who've played in big games. Even with the injuries, all the injuries the Astros have had to their rotation, they still have so many good arms, and their bullpen has so many guys who have pitched in big games, and I think that matters. So this could be a good series, but I like the Astros in that.
All right, so the Will Middlebrooks ALCS prediction, the Yankees sweeping their way to a matchup against the Astros. Now, the Astros have won all 3 meetings in ALCS since 2017. Do you see more of that same there, or are the Yankees finally ready to get the best of this matchup?
I don't think the Yankees are ready, and it has nothing to do with what's on my shirt right here. I swear, this is not the Red Sox and me talking.
We all see it.
It's fine. I wore it on purpose. It's because our producer is a big Yankees fan, so it's always had my Red Sox gear on for him. I just don't think they have enough. I don't think they have enough to win the big games. I think they fold in the big moments, and we've seen it throughout this year with the back end of the bullpen and the issues they've had. Now, if Luke Weaver's in the closing spot, they're going to have a lot better chance than Clay Holmes, which he's had so many issues closing games down this year. This series is going to come down to the last game of the series, and that's how it always should be. It's how it always is between these two teams. There's some bad blood there that's been there for years, so it'll be a fun series, but I like the Astros going to the World Series. I just think they have too much experience, and they're just a really good team, really good bullpen.
All right, so we got the Astros coming out of the American League facing the Padres coming out of the National League in the World Series. The Will Middlebrooks World Series prediction, who wins and in how many games?
So I'm going to call this an upset just because I don't think many people had the Padres winning the World Series, but I'm going to go Padres, and I'm going to go Padres. I wanted to go the distance because once we get to the World Series, I don't want baseball season to end, but I'm going to go Padres in 6. I really believe in this Padres team. I think they are built for the postseason. It's going to be a good series, though, and it's going to be a fight, but this is the Manny Machados and Fernando Tatis Jr.'s and Yu Darvish. I would get those guys a ring. I mean, these guys have been around forever. They've put in the time, and I think this is the year that the A.J. Preller craziness of bringing all these players into one place and spending all this money actually pays off.
Love to see it. Well, hey, October baseball is starting October 1st this year. Love the storyline of that in a season full of parity. We'll see how it all unfolds. Will Middlebrooks, thanks so much for the insight. And of course, Will's pick to win the World Series, the Padres at plus 950 odds-wise, the Dodgers plus 350 to win it, as we take a look at the odds of our playoff teams this season.